Ever since we first looked up at the night sky, we've been asking the big questions. We're all on this incredible, shared journey to figure out our place in the cosmos. And today, we're diving right into the heart of that search. This universal human longing for what you might call spiritual freedom.
So let's just jump right in with the biggest question of all, the one that kicks off pretty much every philosophy and religion ever. Why are we even here? It's the starting line for this entire conversation.
And the search for an answer to that question almost always leads to a quest for spiritual freedom. Now, we're not just talking about being free to vote or say what you want. This goes way deeper. It's the idea of being truly liberated from suffering, from not knowing, from our mistakes, or even from the feeling that we're just puppets of fate.
To get our heads around this, we're going to start by looking at this timeless human quest. You can think of the world's great belief systems as different kinds of maps, all trying to chart a path through the messy business of being human, and all pointing toward this idea of freedom.
And right off the bat, you see this huge fork in the road. On one side, you have secular thinking, which is really focused on the here and now. It asks a very practical question. How can we be free from things like poverty and oppression in this world right now? But on the other side, religious traditions often zoom out. They ask, how can we find a freedom that lasts forever? A freedom beyond this world?
And that question leads to one of the most fundamental splits in all of human thought. And it all comes down to our origin story. Is this it? Do we get one shot at life? Or are we part of a much, much longer story? A cycle that repeats over and over.
For the Abrahamic faiths, that's Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the story begins with a perfect creation. Everything's great. There's just one rule to follow. But then comes temptation. A choice is made, and that leads to the fall. Suddenly, humanity is out of the garden, and life is a struggle.
So you see, the story of Eden isn't just about two people and a piece of fruit. It's really this foundational myth trying to explain the human condition itself. Why we struggle, why there's pain, and why we have this deep, deep longing to be saved or redeemed from it all.
And this sets up two totally different paths. On one side, you have the story of the fall, which gives us a world with one life, the idea of original sin, and basically one chance to get it right. But on the other side, coming mainly from Eastern traditions, you get the idea of a cycle. Your soul is reborn, your life is shaped by your karma, and you have many, many chances to figure things out.
Well, this brings us to another huge philosophical showdown, one that every single one of these traditions has to deal with. Are we in the driver's seat of our own lives, or are we just characters in a story that's already been written for us? Yep, we're talking about free will versus destiny.
Think about it for a second. When you make a decision, what to eat, who to love, what to believe, is that choice really 100% completely yours? Or are there other things pulling the strings, like your DNA, your childhood, or maybe even some kind of cosmic plan?
Okay, so the case for free will, it feels pretty obvious, right? We all have the experience of weighing options and making a choice. Our entire idea of justice is built on the belief that people are responsible for their actions. For this to be true, we have to assume a few things: that we can think rationally, that we have real options to choose from, and that nobody is forcing our hand. But then there's the other side of the coin, determinism. And this idea is powerful. It suggests that our feeling of freedom, well, it might just be an illusion. Maybe every choice you make was already baked in by your social conditioning, the laws of physics, or, as some traditions believe, a divine will that mapped everything out from the beginning of time.
But what if it isn't so black and white? That's where a concept like karma comes in. And it's so interesting because it offers a kind of middle path. It says, yes, your choices absolutely matter. They create real effects. But it also says you're making those choices on a stage that was set by your past actions. So it's this really cool blend of freedom and the circumstances you've inherited.
Okay, so no matter which map you're using to navigate life, you eventually run into this giant, unavoidable mountain, the problem of evil. If there's some kind of good, divine plan, then why is there so much suffering and injustice in the world?
The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus laid this out with brutal, simple logic more than 2,000 years ago. It's a real head-scratcher. It basically goes like this. If God wants to stop evil but can't, he's not all-powerful. If he can stop evil but doesn't want to, he's not all good. And if he's both all-powerful and all good, then where does evil come from? It's a paradox that thinkers have wrestled with for centuries.
So, within those traditions that believe in one life, you generally see a few key explanations. Some say suffering is a test of your faith. Others believe it's a just punishment for doing wrong. And a third, really humble perspective is that it's all part of a divine mystery, that our human minds just aren't capable of understanding the big picture.
Now, the Eastern perspective comes at this from a completely different direction. With ideas like karma and rebirth, you suddenly have this vast, cosmic system of cause and effect. In this view, suffering isn't random or meaningless. It's the direct result of actions, our own actions, playing out over many lifetimes. It doesn't make the pain go away, of course, but it gives it a moral logic.
All right, so we've been all over the place, right? Different origin stories, clashing views on destiny, and totally different ways of making sense of suffering. So let's try to pull all these threads together and see how they all point toward that one shared goal, the search for freedom.
And this table here does a brilliant job of laying it all out. You've got our three big maps. For secularism, suffering is caused by things like oppression and ignorance, and the way out is through reason and justice. The goal is freedom in this life. For the Abrahamic faiths, suffering comes from being separated from God, and the path back is through faith and grace, leading to salvation in the next life. And for Eastern traditions, suffering is caused by attachment and karma, so the path is inner work, like meditation, to achieve a final release from the whole cycle of rebirth.
You know, after looking at all these differences, what's really incredible is the one thing they all have in common. It's that deep, powerful, universal human desire to be free. Free from pain, free from confusion, free from our own baggage. That longing, that is the engine that has driven so much of human history and thought. It's what connects every single one of us.
And maybe that's the real answer right there. Maybe ultimate freedom isn't about finding a final, perfect answer. Maybe the deepest form of freedom is found in the search itself, in the courageous act of constantly asking the questions and striving for truth. That journey is the liberation. Thanks for joining me for this one.